Today I've been looking at UV mapping in Carrara 8.5. UV mapping is a technique where you can take a 2D texture and accurately wrap it around a 3D surface. The aim is to have each of the faces of the dodecahedron a separate colour. If you're working with a spline or a primitive object, you'll need to convert into a vertex shape, as this is where the editor is situated. Select all the polygons, and in the top right hand corner click UV editing mode. Carrara will straight away create a UV map on the right hand side of the window. As you can see, some of the polygons overlap each other, which will cause a problem when painting within Photoshop or another editor. What we need to do is tell Carrara where the edges of the object are so that it can work out the best way to do the cut. So bear with me while I do this. What we need to do is select the edge selector. On the unfold palette, we need to make sure we've got seam selected, not pins. I've done this many times because I keep messing up the text on the video, so I know exactly where to place the cuts. So as we go around, selecting, you don't have to do this all in one, you can do them individually. I'm going to leave one edge connected between the top and the bottom of the object. This will effectively form a fold. So with all those selected, I've clicked on the plus button underneath themes, and you'll see they've turned to cyan. We can now then rotate through to the bottom, and we will then select the last 5 edges. This one. Press on the plus key again, and that has now given us all of our edges. On the unfold palette, if we now hit unfold, it will give us a good map. You can use the scale tools if it doesn't fill the area. What we want is it as large as possible within the area, so that was fine. If you make a mistake and have another seam selected, so that when you unfold it looks like that, it's very easy just to select the bad connection and hit the minus key, and it will add it back in, and then you can unfold again. What we now need to do is get that pattern into Photoshop. So if we go to display, vertex object is selected, and we hit the export button. At the moment it's only exporting at 128 pixels wide, which means each of these squares is going to be about 32 pixels wide. So the individual polygons are going to be about 26, 28 pixels wide. Obviously, if you're creating an image that's 2000 pixels wide, that's going to be too low resolution. So there is a range of resolutions here. By and large, they're irrelevant because you can resize independently within Photoshop. We'll go for 512, might be a bit small. We'll go for 124. Export, UV map, save. Now in Photoshop, that's the map that we're trying to achieve. That's one I saved earlier. If we open up our BMP file, we've now got each of the individual shapes. I'm going to do this very crudely. Oh, how do you recolor in Photoshop? I've forgotten. Full round colour, select the next one. I could have prepared this, but didn't. Clicking everywhere and not where I want. So obviously you could spend a lot more time doing this and get it a lot more accurate. We're going to get these black lines. Normally we would paint over the edges of those so that they don't appear on the model, but to be honest, we don't care at this point. We just want to get the base textures done. That's that. suppose I should be talking at this point, but got a lot to say and it's rather mundane. I'm doing, and the last one could be, yeah, do a grey. Once you've got your desired texture, save the file and go back into our vertex modeler. Now what we need to do is apply the texture to the shader for the object. If we apply the texture normally, turn our preview to vertex object, as you can see, it has applied each of the colours to each of the faces, so that when we do our render, one object.